Welcome to All-in-One Cryptocurrency course. In this lesson, you will learn what is blockchain. Blockchain represents itself that it contains block, and each block contains three constraints. So the first constraint is data. The data is like a transaction detail, the sender detail, the receiver detail, and what is in the transaction, amount of transaction, and things like that. The second constraint is a hash. Hash is a block's node, or you can say it's a serial number of each block, or which represent itself to the block. And the third constraint is a hash of the previous block. So it's contained the hash of the previous block. This is how it's connect to each other. Let's take it to the example. As you are aware that blockchain represent to the cryptocurrency. Each cryptocurrency it's running or executing on blockchain. Each cryptocurrency have its own pattern or systems or calculation, things like that. But the cryptography or the blockchain system, this is how it works. When blockchain begins, any cryptocurrency begins, so they begin with their first block, and we call it Genesis block. In the Genesis block, you have the three constraints. The first constraint we discussed the data. Of course, it will have a data, the transaction details. And then the second constraint is a hash, which represent to its block. So the hash of this Genesis block example is 1 WPL here. And the previous hash, because as long as it's first block, so there is no previous block, so it mostly represent with the 00 itself. And when the blockchain grows, that have more transaction, so the more transactions, so the data increases. When data increases, so the more blocks generates and links to each other. So here in this example, the second block hash is L2MC. So it's a second constraint. And the third constraint is the previous hash. So previous hash will come from the Genesis block. So 1 WPL and so on. So this is how chain grows. When transaction happens, so the blockchain grows and new blocks generate and links to each other. So that's how the database generates of each block. And we call it, in other words, ledger also, that because it contains all the details of transactions and is irreversible, or the blocks hashings or the data, it's not changeable, and it cannot be break, the chain cannot be break, because each block contains the previous hash, and if we manipulate with anyone's hash, so of course the whole chain will be destructed. Example, the second block number is L2MC. So if we make it L2MD, so the next block already keeping L2MC, so that needed to be changed as well. The interlink between the blocks cannot be destructed. Well, let's take it to the real example. This is the information from Bitcoin's block. So there's a statistics that how much time it takes to generate a block. It takes around 10 to 11 minutes to generate one block in Bitcoin blockchain. The total size of the blockchain is 474.19 GB, but when we calculate the each block size is 700 KB. But each block contains around more or less 1000 transactions. When it's generated, it's the maximum size of the block, then it generates a next block. And here is a reward calculation that we will discuss in detail in our mining section. But who, as we discussed that cryptography have number of nodes or number of computers are connected to each other with the help of a software, and all of the nodes having the blockchain data itself. So that each computer have this all data to that computer. So it means the data have been distributed to each nodes equally, and all of these are keeping. So that's how the redundancy or the manipulation it's not possible, because as long as many as computers or nodes having the same data, so the manipulation is more harder. So that's how the cryptography is more stronger, that the distributed data is among the nodes. Well, we will deep dive into the next session, and we will take into the in detail that what blockchain and how does it works. Thank you.